I would love to hear. So, for folks listening here who have not heard before, so before Chris was working with us here, he's a seriously successful career as a salesman. Chris, what's the difference going into a sales situation where you're like, I don't think this person's going to buy. I just don't. I just think that they're not going to want to buy. I just don't think they probably want this thing enough. Like, I'll see what I can do, but I don't think it's going to work. Or going in there like, hell yeah, I am gonna sell this. Like, what's the difference in the result there?
It was night and day in terms of that. I was a very successful salesperson, but then also being a sales manager, I had to train people on how to think that way. And a lot of our job as early sales managers in salespeople's careers was managing that inner game. Because I can't tell you how many times that I would tell people the first appointment you go do, because people would go into people's houses and they would do a knife sales demo. That's the whole job. And then the idea was, let's get you on an easy one first. Who do you absolutely know is going to buy from you? Like, is it your mom and dad? Is it your aunt who loves cooking? Is it this, person who already told you they know it? Like they already own the product. So they said they wanted something. That's your first appointment. And what's amazing is the people who got that first sale out of the way, and it was their first demo, what happens to their expectations? All of a sudden, their expectations are way up here that they were going to make a sale. So the next demo goes out and they sell another one and they sell another one. And that person, I don't have to worry so much about them through the weekend. And I can't tell you, I have so many times where a rep would go out, they make their first sale, they call me, and I'd be like, way to go, awesome. And I'd give the whole spiel, building them up, go out and do more demos, and they would sell throughout the whole weekend. The other story, though, is the rep that made a no sale. They went and saw someone, and sometimes they were expecting it, hoping that they would buy. They go see their parents or whatever, and all of a sudden that turned into a no sale, and they'd call me, and I'd reframe it, and then they would go get a sale. And then the worst was they didn't call me. They'd go out there, and they made it a no sale, and they didn't call me. And then their expectations went into the dirt. So they would go and do 10 appointments and nobody bought from them. And it was night and day from the people who had all this potential. And if they had just changed their mentality on that first appointment, we can change everything for how their appointments went. And I'll tell you, people make decisions about how things are going to go based on silly stuff. I would go out to appointments sometimes, and I remember I learned this lesson the hard way because maybe not even the hard way. I went out on an appointment where I was not having a great day and I wasn't feeling like going out. And then I go to the person's house and you're going down the street and you're like, please not that house. Of all the houses on this block, please not that. That has this has a car on blocks. The house is practically on blocks. These people, they're definitely never going to buy anything from me. There's no way. And you just make these stories up about who they are. And I remember going in and being like, oh gosh, their house is all cluttered and they got nothing nice in here at all. There's no way these people are going to buy. But at some point, I made the decision, you just got to do your best presentation. And you start to see these hints of proof that they like what they're seeing. And from that, like these little hints of evidence, I remember it turned into one of my bigger sales. It was like, I think it was a $600 sale, which at the time was a nice thing to walk out of there because I didn't expect them to spend any money. And then it shifted for me of like, wow, I don't know shit about what people are spending. As soon as I got that into my mindset of like, I don't know what people are going to spend. I don't know what other people's situations are. As much as I might think I know, I have no idea. So I have to go into every single situation with the mentality that I'm going to do my best presentation and they're going to be making their own decisions. Because they are adults. They have their own situation. And I'll tell you, there were times I walked into $1 million houses and I walked out with no sales. And I've walked into houses that had very, very, like I said, houses on blocks, cars on blocks, like it's a trailer park. And I walk out with thousands of dollars. You just don't know. And it was incredible to learn that lesson early on because, yeah, so many people, I think, do write the story before they see the ending. And if you do that, if you write the story before you see the ending, you just ruin it for yourself.
I love that. The line that I loved, or the word that I loved that you said there was evidence, that you're looking for that evidence. And that's a thought that I've had over the last few years that I think to me, it's super impactful. And it's a thought of like, well, how do you build confidence in something? Or how do you build confidence in something that you're new at or that you're not as good at as you want to be, or you're just honestly just not sure. You're a little doubtful. And the thought that I've heard is, don't try to have confidence, try to build evidence. If you're not feeling super good about your ability to do something, like in my mind, it's like that doesn't matter. It's like, look for the evidence, look for the times in which you've already done something. Or if you haven't done something yet, just start doing things and just start giving it a try. And if you're not feeling super confident about it, like that's okay. It's like you just might have to do it without feeling confident about it. But look for the evidence, look for the signs that something's working. Look for the signs that you might actually be good at this or that you can figure it out, or of other times in your life when you figured it out, and then trust that evidence. And like, it's some point of like, there's, at least for me, I found that there are times when I might not be able to trust that I feel confident in being able to do something, but I trust that I have figured things out in the past, or I trust that I have done hard things in the past and that I'm going to be able to do that again. I love that little bit there. Like, you're not going in like just, Chris is the best and he can sell. Instead, it's like, well, I've gone into houses that I didn't have confidence in before and they bought. And look, they're doing a similar thing to what that other person did, even if it's just, I don't know, I'm just putting words in your mouth, but even if it's like, they're making bacon and that person made bacon, there's evidence that something's possible.
I think I built this business, we're 30 years in now, $100 million in sales. I built this business based on the fact that I learned how to roll a kayak in whitewater. So it sounds crazy, but this is to Dan's point. I got good at kayaking. I specifically said, I want to learn to kayak. And this is back long ago. It was a different sport then. There was very little instruction. One of the things you really need to learn how to do is roll your boat. So when you get tipped upside down, you actually roll back up. It's a form of self-rescue. And first you learn to do it in a pool, and then you learn to do it in a river, and then you learn to do it in a raging river. And I went at it with very deliberate practice, and I got really good in the pool, and it transferred to the river, and I got quite good at, difficult whitewater. Those of you who know whitewater, I was very comfortable in class 4, and I did some class 5. So, that's sort of expert level. But then when I started my business, so often, which was just like a year or two later, and I was so often like lost and didn't know what to do. And my mantra was, I figured out how to roll in difficult whitewater. I can figure this out. And it's taken that idea of, I don't have the skill, I don't have this confidence in business, but I have confidence that I can do hard things and I can figure out hard things.
So much of this belief is in doing something that might be deemed, say, impossible, right? And it doesn't, like, at first you might do your first launch and think it's impossible, I can make a sale, but then you make some sales and you're like, oh, then it's possible. But then there's a new level, because it may not be about just making a sale anymore. Now the next impossible thing that you have to believe is possible is selling $10,000 worth of things, or $100,000, or $1 million. And that's an endless pursuit of what is the next impossible thing that you have to, in some ways, believe in. And what came up for me is on my parents' fridge when I was growing up. I always remember, there's a few quotes that I remember throughout my life, but my parents had this magnet on the fridge, and it was from Lewis Carroll's book, Alice in Wonderland. I don't know if any of you have actually read that or not, but everyone knows the story of Alice, right? This is a quote from Lewis Carroll, and it said, "Alice laughed. There's no use trying, she said. One can't believe impossible things." "I dare say you haven't had much practice," said the Queen. "When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." I always looked at that over and over again as a kid and growing up, and it's just like always stuck with me that it's a practice to believe impossible things. It's something that as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as people in the world trying to do impossible things, we have to believe them for everyone else before it becomes real for them. Hey, Launch family, real quick before you go, if PLF has helped you or inspired you, this is your chance to share it and to get paid for it. We're opening the doors for PLF partners and affiliates. And whether you're in marketing, knitting, breathwork, or any other type of niche, if you've got a story and a following, this is your moment. will give you everything you need: swipe copy, strategy support, and a world-class launch built to convert. Head on over to productlaunchformula.com/affiliate to join our PLF affiliate team, and we'll turn your story into some real momentum.